You're listening to the SKYLIT Books podcast. We're an independent, general interest bookstore putting great reads in the hands of people in the Los Feliz neighborhood of Los Angeles. Hosted by resident Skylighters, we're here to bring you new and exciting author conversations, group reads, and bookseller chats. Happy listening.
Hello, my beautiful and lovely listeners, and welcome to SKYLIT. This is the SKYLIT Books podcast, and I'm your host, Lance Morgan. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Scott Meslow to talk about his book, From Hollywood with Love, The Rise and Fall and Rise Again of the Romantic Comedy. Scott Meslow is a senior editor at The Week magazine and a writer and critic for publications including GQ, New York Magazine, and The Atlantic. From Hollywood with Love is his first book. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. Pleasure to be here.
No, it's our pleasure to have you. This is going to be so much fun. I told you before we started recording, but to our listeners too, this is one of our Valentine's Day episodes. So hopefully you get, if you're a rom-com person, like I feel like Scott is, and I will also say I am too, you might get some ideas for some nice Valentine's Day movies as you stay inside this year. But
want to watch one of 16 of them. They're all in here.
They're all, listen, all 16 might be in the cards, Elite. I feel like there should be like a 14 days of Valentine's Day leading up thing, right? Like, why
Sign
not?
me up. Yeah.
I would listen, ABC Family or Freeform now. Freeform, listen, I want my check. I want my cut of the check if you start doing this. I feel like we're going to turn on TV tomorrow and see that like 14 days of Valentine's Day rom-com setup, and it's all going to be from your book. So get ready to
that was my dream all along.
I was going to say, get ready to sue whichever company steals it from you. Scott, welcome to the podcast. It's so great to have you on. You have a reading for us today?
I do. Yes, I've got but one of my favorite rom-com archetypes.
Ooh, I'm excited. All right, well, take it away.
So this is a short chapter about Bill Pullman, Patrick Dempsey, and the rest, who you might know better as the other guys. In 2005, a little-seen rom-com called The Baxter put the spotlight on a rom-com archetype who, dating all the way back to Ralph Bellamy in 1940's His Girl Friday, has always stood just outside the spotlight, the other guy. The official website for The Baxter has the most comprehensive description of the other guy that I've ever seen. In every romantic comedy, there's always that scene at the end where the leading man barges through the chapel doors just as the leading lady is about to marry the wrong guy, it says. The guy left at the altar. The wrong guy? That guy is called the Baxter. The Baxter is the kind of guy you settle for because you can't be with the ones you really love. If you're nodding your head, it's because you've seen some version of this character in a sizable chunk of all the rom-coms ever released. The laziest way to make the audience feel okay about the other guy getting steamrolled by the romantic lead is by throwing in a scene that makes him irredeemably awful. Like The Wedding Singer, in which it's revealed that Matthew Glave routinely cheats on Drew Barrymore, or Wedding Crashers, in which it's revealed that Bradley Cooper routinely cheats on Rachel McAdams. But even when audiences can be nearly certain that the actual star-crossed soulmates will end up together by the end of the movie, the best rom-coms at least attempt to make the other guy a compelling alternative, if not a true love, in his own right. To that end, the best other guy of the 90s is Bill Pullman playing Walter in Sleepless in Seattle. Though Annie, played by Meg Ryan, doesn't even meet Sam, played by Tom Hanks, until the end of the movie, poor Walter is clearly doomed from the moment he appears on screen. Though Annie says they're madly in love, she doesn't even really seem to like him. She frowns at his cute little improvised song about dim sum, grimaces at him when he's not awake, and, though she says his name approximately 800 times throughout the movie, even the sound of it clearly irritates her. Walter's big character trait is that he's horribly allergic to nuts, strawberries, whole wheat, and more or less everything else. His other big character trait is that he is an incredibly decent human being. Annie spends the entire movie obsessing over a guy she heard on the radio, and while she is not very good at hiding it, her obsession is facilitated by her best friend, played by Rosie O'Donnell, who also happens to be Walter's mutual colleague. But if Walter is suspicious about his extremely sketchy fiancée and her reporting trip to Seattle, he gives no sign of it. In a movie with the word sleepless in the title, he is the one character we know for a fact sleeps soundly every night. And when he finds Annie in the closet, essentially cheating on him with the radio she's holding, he makes a pretty funny Clue reference instead of getting mean about it. Playing the guy who is doomed to get dumped for Tom Hanks was, perhaps unsurprisingly, not Bill Pullman's first choice. Those were rough times, says Pullman. But there were just a lot of stories at the time where the second male lead got the shaft, and I wasn't in a position, box office-wise, to take the first male lead. You could fill up a bingo card with the similarly lovable other guys that would come in the years that followed. Justin Chambers in The Wedding Planner, Keanu Reeves in Something's Gotta Give, Jordan Fisher in To All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You. But there's one that deserves extra attention. Patrick Dempsey playing Andrew Hennings in 2002's Sweet Home, Alabama. If Sleepless in Seattle's Walter was a dork with endearing qualities, Andrew Hennings is, apart from his overbearing and omnipresent mother, a romantic figure so over-the-top dashing that it beggars belief. He is a likely candidate to be president of the United States. He arranges an after-hours proposal at Tiffany's so Melanie, played by Reese Witherspoon, can choose any ring she likes. He is played by Patrick Dempsey, which means he is exactly as handsome as Patrick Dempsey. When Melanie inevitably dumps him at the altar to be with the man she actually loves, Andrew literally smiles. So this is what it feels like, he says, proudly standing up to his mother before gently kissing Melanie on the hand and exiting the movie. Don't worry, the credits reveal he ends up marrying a Vanderbilt. What's striking about Patrick Dempsey's first round of Other Guidem is the moment in his career when it happened. 3 years after Sweet Home Alabama, he debuted as Dr. Derek McDreamy Shepard on ABC's Grey's Anatomy, catapulting him past the second male lead who gets the shaft territory lamented by Bill Pullman. And what did Dempsey do with his reinvigorated star power? Booked a role in which he was the first male lead who got to win out over the other guy. Maid of Honor, which came out in 2008 and is essentially a gender-flipped riff on My Best Friend's Wedding, casts Dempsey as a suave bachelor who realizes he's in love with his best friend, Michelle Monaghan, just as she gets engaged to another guy. The other guy in this case is played by fellow Grey's Anatomy star Kevin McKidd. And unlike My Best Friend's Wedding, the true love story turns out to be between Monaghan and Dempsey, who interrupts the wedding and successfully convinces Monaghan that they're soulmates. What's conspicuous about these movies is how cleanly and swiftly the other guy is dispatched once the plot no longer needs him. Maybe he's a jerk. Maybe he's a saint. Maybe he gets a little tacked on happy ending during the credits. But he was always more of an obstacle than a character. So the movies aren't actually interested in what it must feel like to see someone you love find a happily ever after with someone who isn't you. And that brings us back to Sleepless in Seattle. Sleepless in Seattle does not actually show the moment when Annie confesses to Walter and his heart presumably breaks into a million pieces. But by the time the movie cuts back, he is being shockingly kind about the whole thing. Look, Annie, I love you, but let's leave that out of this, he says. I don't want to be someone you're settling for. I don't want to be someone that anyone settles for. Marriage is hard enough without bringing such low expectations into it, isn't it? Annie gives the ring back and asks if he's okay. But precisely 27 seconds later, she tells Walter that she has to run off to the Empire State Building, where the windows have been illuminated with a giant red heart, so she can be with the actual man of her dreams. Sleepless in Seattle immediately cuts to the streets of Manhattan, and the rest of the movie is Annie and Sam's unforgettably dreamy meeting on top of the Empire State Building. But the next time you watch the ending of Sleepless in Seattle, spare a thought for Walter, finishing that bottle of Dom Perignon alone on Valentine's Day as he stares at that big heart on that big skyscraper. And don't feel too bad for the guy, because he got together with Sandra Bullock and While You Were Sleeping like 2 years later.
Loved it. I mean, any way to talk about Patrick Dempsey's interesting romantic comedy to Grey's Anatomy, back to romantic comedy pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like you missed, and we might disagree here, another rom-com of Patrick Dempsey where he played the leading guy, the Disney movie Enchanted.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Enchanted qualifies.
You think?
Yep.
If Enchanted qualifies, I'm going to bring up another movie that you talk about in your book.
Ooh, we're getting into it.
I believe should qualify. We are going into it. I'm ready. I told you, I'm excited. 13 going on 30, which I argue is a romantic comedy, but you disagree with.
What I will agree with you, it is so close to the line. I will say for readers, because if you write a book about romantic comedies, you have to work really hard to figure out what a rom-com is. And what you figure out quickly is, like, people talk about The Devil Wears Prada as a rom-com all the time. That is not a romantic comedy. No. That is a movie about a woman doing a job and having a difficult relationship with her boss, where Adrian Grenier occasionally shows up to be annoying. Like, the romance is not the primary arc. So my test was pretty simple. It was two things. Does the movie make you laugh more than it makes you cry? And once that's established, if you pull out the romantic plot of the movie, is there still a movie or is there nothing there anymore? And my argument for 13 going on 30 would be there is still a whole story about a woman realizing that she didn't like who she was becoming and figuring out how to be the person that she was when she was 13, essentially.
Yes, but my argument there is if it wasn't for the romantic part of it, she would never realize that. It doesn't, like the end where she even goes back and tries to go back to her past is spurned on by finding out that the person that she really should be with is marrying somebody else, right?
It's true. You're not wrong about that. But she knows she's terrible before Mark Ruffalo has re-entered the picture at the same time.
Right. 100%.
So one way or another, there is change coming for that character. Now, I will concede this is totally semantic, and it is so close to the line that if we talk for 3 more minutes, you may convince me I have completely screwed this book up and I needed a chapter on that.
And we're going back to we're taking it off we're taking it out of
time to pull every copy. It's time.
No, because I did have one more that might convince you is
Please.
that the same thing with You've Got Mail. If you take out the romantic part of it, you pull that out, there's still the storyline of a woman fighting big business and losing her small business,
right?
Losing her small business to this rich guy who's coming in and taking over her neighborhood.
That's interesting. That doesn't sound like a very good movie. You're right that it's probably still technically a movie. If he's just an invisible cipher and she's just this poor woman being crushed by Barnes and Noble, that's probably not a pitch that would sell in the room. But these distinctions get very strange when you try to break them down like that. So I tried to hew to the line of what I was completely confident was a romantic comedy.
I know, and that's what I like. That's what I really liked about the book too, is that you never make it seem that you are Mr. Rom-Com, even though you kind of are Mr. Rom-Com from this. You're your own rom-com visionary in a way. You are the person. You make your own rules for what you see in rom-coms, which I think everyone should. Rom-coms are that kind of space. Could you tell us we were talking about a little bit, but your rules for rom-com? What makes a rom-com to you a rom-com?
Yeah, I think other than kind of passing that basic smell test that you and I talked about, there is a degree of that kind of Supreme Court, I know it when I see it thing. One thing that I finally, as I was writing the intro for the book, not to go too far behind the curtain, but when you start writing a book like this, one of the first things I did when I was like, I want to write a book about rom-coms, was come up with a list of, I don't know, 70 or 80 rom-coms, each of which I thought was worthy of being a chapter. Yeah. And then it just kind of came down to, on multiple levels, which ones of these can I really, as much as I would love to write a 3,000 word book about rom-coms, or 3,000 page book about rom-coms.
Let's do it.
And maybe the sequel is coming, but it's why finally in the intro, I just had to put in a line. Ultimately, part of what this came down to is which ones do I really love? And that is, I think, especially for a genre about love, a genre where people, I think, feel really passionately, they hold these movies close. They see them at ages where they speak to them. They watch them on VHS over and over again. The ones you love really is maybe the best test for the rom-coms that you should be, or at least for me, that I really wanted to focus on. And so I tried to cover what was important, but also, what made my heart beat a little faster.
Yeah. And I mean, that was, I feel like, what a lot of people, what draws a lot of people to rom-coms, and what draws a lot of actors to being in rom-coms too. One thing that I really, really found interesting from your book is how many of these rom-com stars are now A-list or A or B-list actors who, are the household names. Can you give us like a little, and you talk about it in the book, and I don't want to, spoil too much from that, but could you talk to the listeners about like that progression for them, for a lot of these stars, from being like the rom-com leading man or leading lady to like blockbuster hit actor now?
It really is kind of insane when you trace the arcs of one of many ways that rom-coms often didn't get their due in the era when they were being made is
Mhm.
every major star kind of went through the crucible of starring in a rom-com that was a hit
Mhm.
and made money for the studio and audiences loved them. I mean,
Mhm.
Meg Ryan is obviously kind of your archetypal, America's sweetheart of the 90s, but we
Mhm.
wouldn't have Julia Roberts without Pretty Woman. We wouldn't have Hugh Grant without Four Weddings and a Funeral. Tom Hanks one way or another was going to be a star, but the cultural image of Tom Hanks is kind of, beloved everyman, America's
Yeah.
dad, all that stuff that
Mhm.
is really directly out of the work he did with Nora Ephron.
Mhm.
And you can really trace it through even the stars who are not necessarily known for the rom-coms they did made a
Mhm.
rom-com at some important pivotal point in their career.
And I mean, that's so it's wild to me. Like, I think of one person you talked about is Ryan Reynolds. You talk about the
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Reynolds, Dane Cook, tethered, tethered like opposites. I feel like there is a script there about those two. Let's bring Dane Cook back. You know what? I'm gonna say it first on
Is
this
that what you got out of that chapter?
podcast. No, it's you made me go like, wow, what they were like neck and neck in for a second there. um no, but like Ryan Reynolds, he's on like every blockbuster I see now.
Mm-hmm.
Cameron Diaz, you saw her like she was, I mean, Charlie's Angels was a big moment for me, but like, yeah, she was the rom-com girl before. Ben
Yeah.
Stiller, um even Adam Sandler, like
Yep.
our
And
Adam
often,
Sandler.
I mean, it's interesting that you bring up actors like Ben Stiller and Adam Sandler because often not acknowledged as rom-coms,
Yeah.
that Adam Sandler came up making romantic comedies, that Ben Stiller did,
Mhm.
that really the whole Apatow school of
Yeah.
40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up and all of which are covered in the book are often thought of as kind of like dude bro raunchy comedies, but they are pretty
Mhm.
classical rom-coms in structure.
Yeah.
They kind of shift the POV to a slacker dude, but
I think
otherwise the same thing.
I think of, and I don't know if this would count in your equation of rom-coms, but I think of like Meet the Parents when I think Ben Stiller. I'm like, yeah, that was a rom-com, right? Is that a rom-com?
I think they are together too fast. Although I guess it's really about saving the marriage. That's the question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but isn't that really about him? Unless it's a love story between him and Robert De Niro, where where his grumpy father-in-law needs to. I mean, that's the real arc we're talking about.
that's the real arc. I mean, there I'm gonna like I'm we're gonna have to put like little bibliography of all of the not filmography of all the films we're talking about in
Mm-hmm.
this, aren't we? In the notes section. Look in the notes sections of this description to this episode, guys. And all
They're
of
all
them,
in there.
they're all in there. And no, because I even think of Guess Who, like the remake
Sure.
of the Guess Who's Coming to
Look,
Dinner, of
come dinner.
course,
Yeah.
but like that's a now you're making me question all my rom-coms. I'm like, I'm gonna have to do my own research now. I'm gonna put out my own op-ed about.
I swear this book is not supposed to start an existential crisis.
I'm just saying, I'll start chat rooms. I'll start we're gonna get it viral. We're gonna
I
start
mean,
like a
this does
fake
sound like a
feud.
podcast. Yeah.
I'm just saying a fake feud between us and like
Oh, we
but the
can make
fake
it a real one. Yeah.
I'm I'm ready. You tell me. You're telling me. This is how we get our rom-com and
Yes, this is the next
our
level.
the person that's it's like this there's something there. There's something there.
Mm-hmm. We're
No,
working
but
on it. I can tell.
the star the gears are turning. The star power is in here. And I mean, I feel like there's rom-com stars now that we're gonna look back. I don't know. We're gonna look 10 years from now back and say, oh wow, do you remember that person who's in that
Mm-hmm.
rom-com? And now I don't know, they're the new G.I. Joe or something.
I mean, that's exactly what happened with Henry Golding.
Yeah, Henry
My man went
Golding,
straight from Crazy Rich Asians to Snake Eyes.
which
He
is
made a G.I. Joe.
oh my god, wow, we're already looking back. I somehow was trying to tell the future but only saw the present. There's something there.
Mm-hmm.
There's something in that what I just said. um could we some of Could we talk about some of the rom-coms that didn't get to like in the book that you still were like, if you were to make like a sequel book,
Oh, absolutely.
which ones would you put in there?
Yeah, it's if I was covering the same time period, which I think is the first question, would I look at the
Mhm.
70s or 80s? or would I look at ones that are coming out now that haven't even come out yet? We've got Marry Me next week, the new J-Lo movie.
Yeah.
And that obviously just for necessity couldn't be in the book. But if we say we're covering the same time period and we assume, to a degree, I was also picking movies where I could talk to a lot of the people who've made them because these are histories in part. It's even with the early movies in the book, like Nora Ephron obviously would have been a dream interview, but she's no longer with us. Gary Marshall, who directed Pretty Woman, just not an option. But assuming all that, ones that I thought about really hard and that I have had multiple people complain to me about not being in there. There was a lot of complaints about the teen rom-coms. People really wanted Clueless, 10 Things I Hate About You, for reasons I totally get. And if you really want that Clueless history, I would point you to Jen Chaney's book As If, which is a book-length history of Clueless, and it is so good. Amazing piece of pop culture history. So that's part of why I didn't include that. But I do look at it and wish it was there a little bit. You've Got Mail is not covered in the depths that some people would like. I had just, because I was doing Nora Ephron, I had done When Harry Met Sally and Sleepless in Seattle in so much detail, and I just thought it's not a book about Nora Ephron. At some point, I gotta look to the other movies.
And I mean, When Harry Met Sally is the movie. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there's definitely, when Harry Met Sally came out, a moment in rom-com history that you have to mark it in there. You can't if there were, I feel like 3 movies you had to pick in here, I would guess that you'd pick When Harry Met Sally for one of them.
There's a reason it's the start of the book. It's not just because it gave me kind of a clean 30-year timeline to look at. It's because it is so perfectly at the point of the before and after of how Hollywood is making rom-coms, where it's still pretty grounded. It's got kind of that feel of like what Woody Allen was doing. In some ways, it's sort of an unacknowledged Annie Hall remake, but then it's got this big, happy Hollywood ending that is as perfect a film ending as you're going to get when he shows up at the New Year's party and does the speech.
I feel like it could still be made today. Like there's still a market for When Harry Met Sally being made in 2022.
It's
like there's definitely some things that have to change. Is it a perfect PC movie? But is it a perfect movie? Yes, I would say so. I mean, and you talk about it in an amazing chapter that I have to cover. But I feel like When Harry Met Sally has 2 of the most iconic best friend characters with Carrie Fisher and
Bruno Kirby.
Because they the best friend characters who are I need to find my own husband, or you getting divorced sucks, let's go to a baseball game, stuff like that. And then of course they end up genius plot twist to put those 2 together and have them have amazing chemistry with themselves.
It's so good.
It's so in a way that I'm just like, why haven't other movies done this like that?
And that scene where they're each on the phone with the other one after Harry and Sally sleep together, and it's just Rob Reiner doing great camera stuff where they're going back and forth and talking to each other. It's so that movie is just delight beginning to end. It is as much as it makes me cliche, it is my favorite rom-com. I adore When Harry Met Sally.
It's one of those that if someone was like, I've never seen a rom-com before, I always am like, When Harry Met Sally, let's put it on. It's
the one you show to aliens to say, like, this is how humans make romantic comedies.
And then be like, and then be like, I feel like they would start worshiping Billy Crystal as a god or something.
I mean, as do we all, right?
I mean, listen, he should be. And he went on to star in, a rom-com of its own, Monsters Inc., Pixar's.
Wow, we are stretching the definition.
John Goodman. Is it about a family in the making with John Goodman? Yeah.
It is quite an odd couple.
Yeah, right. I'm just saying, there's something there. I'm telling you, my book's gonna come out soon. To Love with Hollywood. Would that be?
Can't wait.
The feud started.
I would love to read it. Like someone covering this exact period, covering totally different movies. Nothing would make me happier than reading that book.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. We had this, and I open up a Word document saying, begin on. Open with. What other movies would you have in there though? The teen movies, the teen romantic movies, which God, I love those.
Me too. Yeah. Let's see. Other ones that were serious contenders in the book. We talked about Boomerang a lot. Boomerang
Mhm.
was in there originally. A movie I
Mhm.
would have liked to have covered in more detail. And part of that was I would have been mired in the early '90s for a long time if I had covered all of the early '90s movies I wanted to.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
there are a lot of not to get too into the weeds of like what the book like how the book works, but
Mhm.
half the chapters are about movies specifically, and the other half are about actors. Um,
Mhm.
and what I liked about those actor chapters is it let me cover a lot of ground
Mhm.
in a relatively small amount of space. But it did mean that like I would have loved to do a chapter on While You Were Sleeping.
Yeah.
That's a great important rom com that launched Sandra Bullock, a movie I really enjoy.
Mhm.
Um, or Drew Barrymore, I Don't Do Never Been Kissed. That is a movie. That is a movie that certainly deserves. I mean, flaws and all, and boy, is there a central problem in that plot.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
um, but that is a movie that
But
really deserves probably more attention than I was just able to give it because ultimately the book is 430 pages, and that's kind of where I had to let it rest.
that's fair. I mean, history will always be kind to never, never been kissed. Whether it should be or not, it will always be.
Mm-hmm.
Um I no, I mean there's and I bet we can go on for hours with the movies that
Mm-hmm.
we could talk about there.
Well,
And we will.
what did you wish was in there? Yeah, what did you pick up the book and go, I can't believe he didn't do this one?
Oh no. This will all be covered in the I'm joking. Um no, the one I would love a Queen Latifah chapter
Mm-hmm.
because she, I mean, to me is a rom-com darling. Even though I know you wouldn't count this, there's a movie I just recently watched with her, Bringing Down the House. I don't know if you remember that
Uh-huh.
one with
I
her.
remember it with Steve Martin.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and I do think there's a rom-com subplot there with her and Eugene Levy, which I've never seen. When I think chemistry in a movie, Eugene Levy and Queen Latifah, it just
Really?
like I. If you haven't seen it, I would say revisit it.
I have to, yeah, I saw it when it came out, and I have
Mhm.
not seen it since. That was Queen Latifah. I did look. I mean, she comes up kind of obliquely in the book, not a
Yeah,
lot of detail, but but that is a movie that I did not look at for serious consideration. So I apologize.
and you will look at it, and you will disagree with me,
I
and
will
I will
revisit it.
stand in
Honestly, I'll
my
let you know what
truth.
I think. Yeah.
Please, please do. But that one, Angela Bassett, I feel like
Yep.
there's a mega chapter on her there of like
We do have
her.
Waiting to Exhale in the book, so
Yeah,
I think that at least covers a very an important movie and got a movie I love, and
I
boy
mean,
is she amazing in it.
like the star power in that movie alone. I
It's
mean,
crazy.
the Whitney of it all
Yeah.
too. Just like, I mean, Whitney also who one maybe not the romantic comedy, but she dominated like the romantic scene in a lot of
Hmm.
ways too.
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
there
The Bodyguard doesn't fit into my book, but you have to talk about it in
you have to
terms
talk
of
about the Bodyguard.
yeah.
Oof, 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 oof. But yeah, no, there is um those two, Angela Bassett, maybe a
Hmm.
little bit of no, it's Angela Bassett. I mean, you could, and there's so many like, stars that came from the romantic comedy. But Angela Bassett sticks with me because a powerhouse of an actor.
Yeah.
And she takes over a lot of, I mean, even in Waiting to Exhale, it's supposed to be Whitney Houston's movie, right? In a lot of ways.
Hmm.
But then Angela Bassett's character comes in, you're like, never mind. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, you still see that
Burning the
meme of
car.
her burning the car down
Yeah.
today. That's impact. That
That was
is
there's art in the book. I had an artist do
art.
an original illustration for all the movies covered, and when we were
Yeah.
discussing which scene to do from Waiting to Exhale, it's like, is this even a conversation?
It's
It's
it
clearly
can't,
burning the car.
burning the car down. It's just gorgeous
Yeah.
to see her do that and just like walk away from that, and you're just like, wow.
Hmm.
I like, if you remember anything from that movie, it's that.
Yeah.
In a movie starring four amazing black women, just
Yeah.
acting so well, but
Hmm.
damn that one scene.
I know.
I
It's
know
wild. I'm so
I know all
sad they
of
won't get to make the sequel now
I
without
mean,
Whitney, because it really sounded like it was coming together.
it in it, who knows? Maybe they'll find a way to, keep Whitney's spirit in it if they decide to do it. But
Yeah. I know they
oof,
talked about
oof,
recasting with Oprah Winfrey, but I don't know. It's just not.
it's
It
not
wouldn't
the
be the
same.
movie. Yeah.
It wouldn't be the movie. No, Whitney's narration throughout the entire thing too.
Yeah.
It's like she's singing to me without singing, and she's just talking, singing with me. That's how good Whitney is, where she's just talking. You're like, so wow, sing it, keep singing. No, and that movie, unlike The Bodyguard, that's a movie where it's just she's not. she's not a singer. It's not like her music isn't a part of it. It's the actor Whitney.
Yeah, she's
It's
playing a character who is actually not that similar to Whitney Houston.
Exactly. And I'm just like, and you see it and you're just like, wow, damn, she had it all. Now I'm gonna dedicate this episode to Whitney Houston. The greatest. No, but yeah, those two, Queen Latifah, and who, like, I mean, there's, for her to the sitcom start of it, where, like, she had that sitcom rom-com kind of thing too. Did you do you include the sitcom love rom-com vibes to when you think about rom-coms?
Yeah, it comes up in the book for sure. I, again, just for like necessities and sanity's sake, I couldn't. Love on TV is a totally different conversation, but I do think you're not doing full justice if you don't say, like, especially at the time when there was all this death of the rom-com talk, probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and that was at the same time when, like, Jim and Pam in The Office was like everybody, that it was like the biggest love story on TV, and that was really filling that same thing, or so did Ross and Rachel, or you can't. I think you can't have a complete conversation about how kind of the tropes of the rom-com and how well they've been kind of understood and deconstructed by talented people if you don't talk about Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, the Rachel Bloom show.
Oh my God.
Which
perfect show.
Unbelievably good. And so smart about rom-coms and how rom-coms affect people and how people who love rom-coms might internalize the wrong messages from them.
I will tell this story to the listener. I might get in trouble for this, but I'll tell it. One day, we put on, it was late, and we put on "You Stupid Bitch," maybe one of the best songs that came from the entire. If you haven't seen, go on YouTube, watch it, and then you'll watch the entire show. But we put it on at SKYLIT, and when I tell you, the entire store, everyone who was in the store stopped and started singing with it, and the applause that we heard afterwards. I was just like, I wish it happened in a way that no one was expecting it. So no one had their camera out. So I have no proof to show people that this happened except for my memory, and God, was it a good memory.
That might be the best way. I wish I had been there.
It was a wonderful moment. But no, yeah, the Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, trying to think, there was recently the show Love Life season 2, the new season of it, a fantastic.
I've heard. I haven't seen season 2 yet. I was kind of lukewarm on season 1.
No, go to season 2. It's 10 out of 10. But it's like those things. Like there's the television aspect of it too, which I feel like. Do you think there's a future there too, where they might? I mean, there was the past with like the 22 episode series that had the romance in there, but like even like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, the show Love Life. My brain, now that I'm trying to think of it, my brain's blanking. But I feel like there's others that we could probably pinpoint out there that have, kind of deconstructed it and see what makes something a rom-com. What's a new fresh version of this that we can see on TV?
I think that's what a lot of people are trying to do. I think Love is really interesting. Judd Apatow show on Netflix.
Yes.
I don't think that was wholly successful. Sorry, Judd. But I think it was really trying to do something, or for that matter, a better example. Why can't I think of the name? The Aya Cash show.
You're the worst.
On FX. Thank you. You're the worst. I think that is a great example of something that is doing a love story that is really running in the opposite direction from rom-com tropes, but still ultimately a pretty romantic story, kind of a beautiful story about extremely damaged people. And I think, especially when you look at TV shows like that, rom-com, for a genre that's really gotten dinged a lot unfairly, like it is a very elastic genre. If talented writers, talented directors, talented performers really can bring a lot of intelligence and insight and humor, like it really can do it all.
It can. And I mean, even I was thinking about the one that came to my mind was the short-lived amazing show, High Fidelity, the remake. That should have been so good. It was an evolution of the original movie and book in a way that was necessary. And damn, did it end too? Go away too soon.
I was both crushed and shocked when it was a one and done. I really thought Hulu was investing in that one. I was so bummed.
they should have. Hulu, if you're
Yeah.
listening, and to our fans, get online now.
Pick it up.
Hashtag revive.
It's not too late.
It's not too late. It was. I mean, it was a show of just a genius show that really understood the source materials enough to be like, this is where we need to go with it. And like, I mean, it said, here's two things that people love: music and love. Put them together. This is what a perfect recipe.
Yeah.
But talking about that too, I wanted to talk about what you think about like rom-coms in terms of seasons, because there's a lot of the most famous rom-coms have to deal with like uh Christmas, weddings, Valentine's Day. Uh, there's weird ones about July 4th or Halloween. New Year's Eve has a lot of rom-coms in there. What do you what why do you think those exist sometimes around seasons?
I think it's a good question. I think, and you haven't named the most recent one that fascinated me, which was Holiday, the Netflix movie, which was like, what if we do a rom-com that's set on every holiday for an entire year? It was like they just totally did it all. I thought that was a really fascinating structural choice.
Yeah. I mean, the recent one I think of is the Kristen Stewart
Happiest Season,
which I would say knocked it out of the park. They were
great
knocked
movie.
in the park in terms of like the people were talking about it, invested. It was
their biggest movie that year. That in Palm Springs. It was Hulu had a big year for rom-coms. Yeah.
I mean, and good for, and they understood the the assignment there.
Absolutely.
But yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all. The seasonality of it, I think it's a degree of if I were a savvy producer being like, how do I make sure my movie has a lasting impact? I would look at what Love Actually did, because certainly that's what started the trend, and say almost accidentally that became a holiday staple. I don't think that was necessarily what that movie had in mind, but it was so clear that anthology rom-com set at a holiday full of stars became a thing that not only was a hit in its time, but became something that people would revisit every year for the rest of their lives, which is part of why it's a movie that gets covered in the book in detail. But Gary Marshall, he made his late career was just those movies. It was Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, New Year's Eve. And I think it's at a time when the market is so crowded with stuff people can watch, why not give them some hook where you say, why don't you watch the New Year's Eve movie at New Year's Eve? But I think it also just seems to be what audiences want, because there's a reason that Hallmark is programming 5 months of Christmas rom-coms a year now. Like it's not just December, it's July, and also somehow it's bled into October and November. Like there's I think anything that can kind of anchor your stuff a little more. It's not just a rom-com, it's a rom-com, but maybe like Santa's in the background. It gives you a little more oomph. I mean, it's not different than action movies. It's why it's why people love Die Hard and Lethal Weapon and all that as Christmas movies, or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's just it's another thing in the toolbox.
I mean, Marvel just did that with the Hawkeye show where they,
and I guarantee this time next year people are going to binge it again. It'll be like their Christmas Marvel binge.
And you're right. You know what? We figured it out. We figured you out. We're coming for it. We're coming for you with my new DC Halloween show, I guess, coming out this year. DC, listen, you know how to reach me. No, well, I want to move on to the topic that I wanted to talk about when I finished the chapter. I said, this is the one that I am going to make sure is in the conversation, and it is about my girl. The Judy Greer.
Yep.
The Judy Greer. When I think rom-coms, I think Judy Greer.
You could have said anything and I would have been less delighted than I am right now. This is maybe my favorite topic in the book.
From the first, I forgot the first, maybe it was either 13 going on 30 or The Wedding Planner, where I was just like, who is this?
Yep.
And she's stealing every scene.
Yep.
She is the person. I always was like, I don't want to be the main character. I want to be the Judy Greer, because she is she is the one she's the smart one. She's the one who's like giving the advice and being like, this is what you should do, or you need to focus on your career. Or 13 on going on 30, secretly kind of the villain too. Like, genius woman. Why? And I ask why, fully knowing that there truly is no other answer than she's amazing. But why do a whole chapter on her?
Oh, I mean, for starters, it's
And not a
amazing is
whole
where
book.
it starts. Yeah. I love part of what was fun about writing a book about rom-coms was kind of breaking into those archetypes a little bit. And
Right.
if you were going to, much like the reading I read at the top was about the dude who gets dumped, you cannot have a serious conversation about what was happening in rom-coms, especially in the 90s and 2000s, if you don't talk about the best friend archetype, because it is so important and it is so thankless. It is,
Yes.
Oh. I talked to Judy Greer for the book for a while, and she had so many. I hate to tell tales out of school, but everything you would hope, she is the nicest, coolest person. Like, it was what a delight. If you see Judy Greer in a movie and you were like, I wish we were friends. I wish we were friends too. She really is the coolest.
I want to be her friend. I want to be like the Judy Greer's best friend. I feel like that's the imagine getting that role. I would.
Yeah.
You would have thought I was the next Iron Man. I would have been like, yes, I did it. I made it.
Part of what was so great about talking to her about those roles is there's so much stuff that you wouldn't know goes into it. I mean, the reason that she played so many of those roles in a role is it's really hard. It's because those are characters who are total ciphers on the paper more often than not. They are stuck with delivering exposition. She has an amazing anecdote about how she had to carry a can of soda a certain way in this movie she did with Jennifer Aniston, because there was product placement deals that they'd made, and Jennifer Aniston wouldn't do it because she had a different deal with Smartwater. And so so Judy Greer had to deliver her often very boring exposition, but do it in an entertaining way while also making sure the label of a soda can was facing the camera. And like, what a specific and strange job. And if you watch that movie, you would not notice a thing. It is totally seamless. She takes all these boring lines and she finds ways to put all the spin and pepper on them and make them funny and memorable. It is such an interesting and strange part of how rom-coms are constructed. And so her and Catherine Hahn were the two where I was like, yeah, we gotta talk about what those actresses have done in this genre. It's really worth unpacking.
The Catherine, and like two women who, like, again, household names. Like, you bring up Judy Greer, people are like, yes. And they immediately, they're like, this is my favorite Judy Greer.
Yeah.
I feel like even the movies that she's in, you don't think about, like, you think about Judy Greer first and then like the other characters. She like, I feel like she, even in the book, when you were her quotes from her, she was just like, I'm glad I got to be the best friend and not the star. I'm like, no, but you are the star. You somehow became, from all these roles, just the star. When people see Judy Greer and they're like, oh, it's like seeing Stan Lee in a Marvel movie. You're just like, there she is.
It does feel like the internet gets it. Like even if the studios were kind of underappreciating those performances, the internet has really rallied around what was cool about those actresses, and that is just delightful, because boy, is it deserved.
Oh yeah, Catherine Hahn is in my house. Me and my roommate, just a regular talked about subject. We're like, oh my god, what do you think Catherine Hahn is doing right now? I mean, and just the talent of those two to be like, there's a reason they both kept starring in these movies, right?
Absolutely. And doing it well.
But like, she's grown so much in her career, Judy Greer specifically. How do you think she'll ever return to rom-coms?
I would love that. When we talked, she sounded kind of done with it. At least with doing the best friend type stuff. She, as much as she appreciated all the credit and attention, she was also like, I've done a lot of stuff since I was kind of in this best friend. I mean, it really has been like 10 or 15 years since she's done one of those roles. Probably the last one was Playing for Keeps. And even then she wasn't the best friend. It was just a large ensemble. And that was 2011 maybe. So it's been a while since she's done it, but Catherine Hahn actually has a great line about how she wants to make a rom-com with her and Judy Greer, where like Kate Hudson occasionally runs around in the background and it's just about like what the best friends do. And like, that is a great pitch. Someone should absolutely greenlight that movie. I would love to see it.
And I feel like she went too small. Like Kate Hudson and Katherine Heigl, Jennifer Garner, all of them in the background, just like oh my god, fighting over who gets to like get the best, who gets to have Judy Greer and Katherine Heigl at the end.
That's what they deserve.
They're like wooing. Oh my god, them being wooed by these main stars, and they're like the main character. Oh, Judy, if you're listening, you know my number. Like, you know how to reach me. Just contact me, please. I would love to do this. No, and I mean, like, I feel like she loves to poke fun at it too. Sometimes she pokes fun. She's very aware of like it too, in a way that I
have you read her book
about her. No, I haven't read her book.
Okay.
I'm guessing you have.
Yeah, it's great. It's called I Don't Know What You Know Me From. And it is just very self-aware essays about like being approached constantly by people who kind of remember her from like Arrested Development, or they hear her voice and think of Archer, or of course one of these rom-coms. And she is very, as you have to, has a real sense of humor about like an interesting place in the Hollywood firmament. But like you said, I really do think she has finally gotten her due relatively recently.
And yes, but also just, and I mean, I grew up, I was a kid during the Greer renaissance of the best friends. But like, even when as a kid, I remember in school, it'd be like, oh my God, Judy Greer, she was a guest star in this TV show. And then just like hour-long conversation about which movie we loved her most in. And like stuff like that. She was like, we would see, because our parents would be watching those movies and we'd be like in the background, watching a little bit. And so she was, I feel like, for like millennials, from like, what are they calling elder millennials? The elder millennials to the young millennials. She was there. She was always there for us. And I mean, I feel like there's definitely, for newer rom-coms that like are being made, Netflix definitely has like a picture of Judy Greer just like on the wall during casting. Like, is she close? Is she close enough? Are they close enough? Who knows? Like, we have to get the perfect person to do it.
Totally.
Like, all these actors are like studying her films, being like, wait, is that a choice?
Yep.
I would go to the Judy Greer School of Best Friend.
Acting. Learn from the best. If you're going to aim for the top.
Oh yeah, her masterclass. I don't understand why you haven't started this yet.
That's probably coming up.
It's probably coming. Well, actually, I want on that. If you were to be a best friend for any of your rom-com star heroes, who would you be it for?
Wow. Actor or character?
Both. So
okay.
I'll let you do one actor, one character.
Yep. I think it would be very fun to hang out with Matthew McConaughey collectively, his rom-com persona of kind of like fast-talking charmer, usually wearing a cool suit, usually with a whiskey. Right. Good enough. Great. Sign me up. I'll sit on the porch with him and hang out with Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah. I immediately was like, failure to launch.
Yep. See, there you go. I think
one of the most unbelievable rom-coms, I will say, because how does Matthew McConaughey not like, how is he like the lovable loser? You know what I mean? I was just like, Matthew McConaughey playing himself as a lovable loser. I don't see it.
Yeah.
they too far. They went too far that time.
Yeah.
But go on. Which character?
If you told me I got to do one, it would be Erica Berry in Something's Got to Give. I want to go hang out at that big beach house in the Hamptons and have all the good food and sit by that pool, and Jack Nicholson will make fun of me. It sounds great. Sign me up.
That movie specifically is always, whenever I think of like my perfect place, it's as Diane Keaton just on the pool or by the beach, crying into her computer while wearing a white turtleneck and a white like that's my perfect place, my happy place.
Agreed. I talked to the set decorator of that for the book, and she had amazing stories about how they put that together.
A genius, a person who deserves the Oscar today for that.
Literally changed the whole kitchen renovation industry. Quite literally they credit the whole kitchen renovation industry with people seeing that movie and wanting that. It's amazing.
And that's rom-com, the power of rom-coms. A powerful genre. we sadly have to wrap up, even though I'm having too much fun. It can go on for 3 hours. And should we? No,
Oh yeah, I
no.
think everyone wants it.
Everyone wants it. I mean, who doesn't love a 6-hour podcast? So the last thing I wanted to ask you was, if there was one thing you took away from, I mean, I'm guessing this book wasn't you being like, oh wait, what's a rom-com? And then just
Yeah.
starting to write the book. But like from your history of like loving rom-coms to writing this book, what is one thing that you take away that you wish, every single person who loves movies would take away from it?
That's a good question. I think you're right. I went into this loving rom-coms. I was thinking about books I might want to write, having done film and film and TV journalism for a long time. And one of them was, if I'm going to spend a lot of time thinking about a genre, watching movies in a genre, interviewing people, there's that rom-com seemed like a really nice way to spend my time. And to a degree, kind of ground that had not felt like it had not been fully excavated. I really felt like a lot of these movies had not gotten their due, and I was excited to be able to champion them. And so in the process of reporting out the book, probably the thing that I came away with even more than I thought I would was an appreciation for just how hard it is to make a good rom-com and how incredible it is that there are so many for movies that have been so frequently underappreciated. Except by the audiences who love them, but often very snobbishly dismissed by critics, not really given a lot of awards love, that sort of thing. To find a script that kind of crackles, to find stars with that kind of chemistry, to direct it in a way that keeps it moving, that keeps audiences kind of hoping for these characters and keeping them invested. Like I think it might be as hard to make a good rom-com as it is to make any other kind of movie in Hollywood, like a really good rom-com. And I hope that if people read the book or even just listen to this podcast, although I hope you read the book,
please read the book. Please, it's a great book, please.
But I hope you walk away thinking there is really an incredible amount of talent and work in these movies that are so frequently underrated. And I hope they get their due.
And they make you feel good. They make you feel good. And there's a reason that we like that. I like to watch them and be like, wow, there's hope. And then put on my white turtleneck and go stand at the window, drinking a nice cup of tea, looking out, and that's it. That's the vibe.
I'm more of a Bridget Jones in the pajamas with a giant glass of wine, but I do know what you mean.
That's me watching the movie. Afterwards, I put on the white turtleneck sweater and just the knit sweater and just look out my window.
That sounds like a great night.
I need to get a Diane Keaton wig, honestly, and just put that on too and fully commit to the bit. No, I lied, and I have one more question I want to ask you too, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Because I feel like the easy question to ask you is, what's your favorite rom-com? But I don't want to know. I want to know, what's the next rom-com you're going to watch?
Wow.
It could be an old one. It could be something coming up. Yep. What's the next one on your list?
You're catching me right before Marry Me comes out. That is almost certainly the next rom. You're telling me that J-Lo is playing the world's biggest pop star opposite Owen Wilson in a rom-com. That is like a reserve my seat a week in advance type rom-com. I am there.
I saw the funniest tweet for that the other day, which was, it's like, you want me to believe that J-Lo would dump Maluma for Owen Wilson? I can't see it.
I'm pretty sure Maluma dumped her.
Maluma, I mean, who knows? We'll have to see.
We'll find out when we see the movie.
We'll find out when we see the movie, and we'll come right back here to talk about.
Yeah, can't wait. See you next week.
Can't wait. No, no. I mean, that movie. I immediately, someone texted me and was like, "You got to watch a trailer for this movie." And I, as a person who was in theaters to watch, what's the movie where she was going to be a single mom, so she got a sperm donor to have these babies.
It's either second act or the backup plan, and I can't remember which. Is it? Okay, thank you.
It's the back. And I in theaters to watch that because I was like, yes, I'm a J-Lo. Yep. My parents made me watch The Wedding Planner, is it Made in Manhattan?
Yep.
There's one I can't remember off the top. Which the
Geely, Jersey Girl, Shall We Dance? There we go.
Shall We Dance? Oh my, Shall We Dance? I actually wrote a paper on Shall We Dance because I was writing a paper on like the masculinity dance culture, and then that's when I discovered Shall We Dance, and I was just like, oh my, why does no one talk about this movie?
It's good.
She's using two of her talents, dance and acting. Like No, I mean that. I mean, I grew up with J-Lo as an actor, singer, and dancer. And so, I mean, will I be in theaters for Marry Me? Yeah, of course.
Can't
Of
wait.
course. Will it live up to my expectations? Sure. Sure.
It would be hard for it to disappoint me. Even a
It
bad
would
version of
really,
that movie is a good movie for me.
I mean, Owen Wilson too, back to his
Yeah.
rom-com roots. Another rom-com star that I wish would go back to his. I think we're going to see a lot of stars to return to their rom-com roots. That's a prediction I'm going to make from now.
I hope you're right. I certainly think the genre's on an upswing.
I mean, and it has that. It goes up and down and up and down. And so I will see you in 10 years when you write about the next rise and fall and rise and then fall and then rise again.
I cannot wait.
And I will be here ready to go. Scott, this has been so much fun. Again, I could do this for hours, but we can't.
All good things must come to an end. But seriously, Lance, it was a blast. Thank you so much.
It was so much fun. In your book, From Hollywood with Love, the rise and fall, I'm going to say it all because I love it. The rise and fall and rise again of the romantic comedy, soon to be followed by the rise and fall and rise and fall and rise again, then fall again, then rise again, coming out in 2032. We'll see. No, please go buy this book. It's currently on display and for sale at SKYLIT Books. Check it out. The cover is also great. The cover is also very cool. I saw it when I first got my copy of it. I was like, oh, this is so beautiful.
Me too.
Just showing it off to all my coworkers, like, look at this book that I got. It's so cute. And then, I mean, the illustrations in it too. I mean, it feels like a love letter to these movies as well.
I should quickly shout out my artist, Alex Kittle, who did the art for the book. She's incredible. And I think there will be prints of all the art she did available to buy, if signed prints on her store. So keep an eye out for that. She's pan and scan at Etsy.
Ooh, I will be checking that out. I want to get that Waiting to Exhale one for sure, because how could I not?
So good.
It's so good. Angela, oh my God. But no, thank you again for coming on. And thank you to all my listeners for listening out there. If this is your first time listening, thank you for joining. Please go back and listen to our other episodes. If you're returning, thank you for coming back. I appreciate you and I love all of you. And please come back next time and check out our podcast in the future. We have some really good guests coming up, but you guys all have a beautiful and great and perfect rest of your day. Do something good for yourself.
Thank you for listening to the SKYLIT Books podcast series. Please don't forget to visit our website at skylitbooks.com and make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more author talks and bookseller conversations. You can find us on Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. Stay safe and healthy, and we hope to see you back in our store soon.